Hey, good morning, y'all. Josh of Severe Weather. Happy Saturday to you. Hope you've had a blessed weekend so far. I know here in Raleigh, we're getting ready for playoff season here in the NHL, but we also have had a lot of rain on the last two Fridays. We set a record for the amount of rainfall yesterday and 2 weeks in a row of heavy rain. I hope that that doesn't set the pattern for the rest of the spring because we are done with the rain and the storms. We had four thunderstorms yesterday where I live, one at about 9 in the morning, then two back to back that brought hail into the Western Triangle around dinner time. And then the nightcap around 10:30, 11 o'clock that kept us up a little bit later than we'd like. My shirt is disappearing on me. Sorry, I can't do anything about that. But anyway, big outbreak expected today across the Mississippi Valley. And that's what I'm going to share with you guys here. We are looking at a destructive squall line that is going to form along a strong cold front, and that is going to track right through the areas that have had severe weather quite a bit yet this spring. Basically, northeast Texas, straight on up through the state of Arkansas, right on into the Show Me State here of Missouri, and sneaking into Illinois here later tonight. And farther east, this could cause some problems as well across the Mississippi River as we get later into the night tonight. So as we look at the water vapor image, there's a couple of features I want to point out to you all. The first one is we've got kind of two pieces to this big storm. You can see the trough cutting through Colorado. That sent record high temperatures around Denver the other day back to some snow. And that's the kind of change we're going to be seeing here across the upper Midwest into the Northeast and across Eastern Canada here as we get later into this weekend and the start of next week as well. As we go farther to the south, we do see there is a thunderstorm complex that fired up last night across southeastern parts, south central and southeast Texas. And that is going to bring some pretty nasty weather to parts of the Gulf Coast here later on today into tonight and tomorrow morning. So I'm going to be tracking that for you. That is not going to feed, though, into what will be a stronger squall line that's going to get rolling here later this morning into the afternoon hours over western Arkansas, western Missouri, and northeastern Texas. So kind of two pieces to this. In addition, we do have an upper level low spinning across West Virginia, right near Bluefield and Beckley, and that is going to continue to push northeastward and going to bring cloud cover and some scattered showers and storms to the mid-Atlantic and southern parts of the Northeast here today. And that is going to bring a break from the record heat we saw over the last couple of days. It is still going to be very warm, though, the farther north you get across New England and the farther away from the Atlantic you get as well. And another superior day of warmth as well over parts of Ontario and Quebec, and really even Michigan. Just some very late spring, early summertime heat cutting in. If the humidity weren't any higher, I would say this would be kind of a summertime heat wave. But fortunately, the humidity has not been a big deal. But it will get more humid. I can tell you that from experience here. Yesterday in Raleigh, we had a dew point getting close to 70 later in the morning after that first wave of storms, making it feel like a tropical day. It did drop a little bit as the afternoon wore on and the sun came back out. But the day before, we had dew points in the 30s and 40s. So just like that, the switch is going to get flipped here as this moisture continues to surge up the East Coast. So anyway, let's take a look at the severe weather we had yesterday. We did have some hail and strong winds in parts of North Carolina, as well as a few reports in south and central Florida and in eastern Tennessee. But most of the severe weather got going last night over Kansas and Nebraska. That was anticipated. We did have some reports of some significant hail as well with these storms yesterday evening in central Kansas and eastern parts of Nebraska, getting up to about Omaha. Now, that area is expected to grow today. We do have an enhanced risk encompassing 4 states from Illinois and Missouri all the way down into Louisiana. And this is not going to be a big time tornado outbreak, but there will be a 5% chance that we do see a tornado or two, especially if any what we call discrete supercells form out ahead of the main squall line. If those can outrun the squall line, which they may for a couple of hours, then those storms may not compete with each other as much, and we do have a little bit more rotation in play. But I think the bigger risk that we deal with is going to be some severe wind, at least a 15% chance over about 8 states here later today into tonight, but a 30% chance for severe wind up to about St. Louis and Columbia and Jefferson City and down to just east of Shreveport. And that includes the majority of the state of Arkansas. Also, a very large hail threat from about Lufkin, Texas, Natchitoches, Louisiana, Monroe, straight up through the majority of Arkansas. About 85-90% of Arkansas has the risk for very large hail. That does include Little Rock, Conway, Pine Bluff, Hot Springs, and then continuing to about 2/3 of the state of Missouri as well, including St. Louis here towards this evening. And that's what I think we're going to see the most will be large hail reports later this afternoon into tonight. There is a risk for some hail as well, sneaking into the Florida Panhandle overnight tonight with that southern complex of storms. And what I'm going to do for you guys is kind of break things down here a little bit here. I'm going to get back to pivotalweather.com, but I want to show you Radar Omega. Here's our hatched area of large hail. And what I'm going to do is set the forecast radar into motion for you guys. I've just been kind of learning this platform a little bit more. And you can see things get going here this evening and then track further east with time and southeast overnight tonight. And we do have the potential for another squall line tomorrow over parts of Ohio and Pennsylvania with the front. So I don't really know if I can really slow this down much, but what I'm going to do is hit stop and start. But this is 6 o'clock. This is when we see storms firing pretty significantly here. We also have to watch this southern part of our storm system forming here over Mississippi and Louisiana with that return flow off the Gulf, and keep an eye on things here across south central Texas as well. This is 6 o'clock this evening Eastern time, 5 Central. And then as I play things along here, you can see a well-organized line of storms from East Texas right through Little Rock. This is 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern time. That continues right up through St. Louis. So I think this is kind of our prime time, 8 o'clock Central, right around sunset and right beyond that. And maybe some isolated severe weather as well across central and northern parts of Illinois. Moving this along here later tonight, this is midnight Eastern, so 11 Central. Memphis will be under the gun. We'll also see those storms moving into the Rolling Fork area, approaching Yazoo City and Jackson here around midnight Central time, and continuing eastward. And we may have severe weather overnight as well in parts of South Louisiana and southern Mississippi, as we see an organized complex of storms producing very heavy rain and a lot of lightning over the central Gulf Coast region very, very late in the night tonight into the first part of tomorrow as well. Now, farther north and east, this is not going to be as big a severe weather producer, but we do have the risk for some more storms firing up from the Lake Erie and Southwest Ontario region right through central and eastern Ohio. Right now, a marginal risk. I'll show you guys that. But I do think there could be an upgrade coming. This is tomorrow's risk for severe weather. And you can see we did at one point have a slight risk over Georgia. It looks like the thermodynamics, the amount of instability is not going to be as high as originally forecast. The Storm Prediction Center has actually kind of backtracked on that a little bit and gone back to a marginal risk. I do think this area in here, though, needs to be watched for maybe an upgrade to slight severe weather, as there will be a chance for some locally strong wind tomorrow in this area. And I do not believe it's only going to be 5%. I think we may see an upgrade to 10%. So that includes areas just east of Columbus up to about Cleveland, Akron, Youngstown, down to Parkersburg, Wheeling, maybe sneaking over into Butler and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, even down close to Bridgeport, close to Charleston, and those areas here, basically the I-77 corridor, I think, yeah, 77. But we're going to have to keep an eye on that region here in the afternoon tomorrow as well. Not looking at a tornado risk, fortunately, but we do have potentially some potential severe wind. I said potential twice. Sorry about that, guys. But anyway, here's what the GFS model shows us with this front. You can see why it's going to be pretty robust. Low pressure, robust. I'm making up words. Awesome. Low pressure is going to be deepening as it moves northward right through eastern Iowa and Illinois tonight into early tomorrow. And we'll have a sub 995 low pressure near Milwaukee tomorrow afternoon. What that's going to do is allow winds to strengthen and kind of a whiplash of cold on the backside of our storm here, and a change over to some wet snow expected over northwest Illinois, and in particular over western and central Wisconsin, eastern Minnesota, and the UP of Michigan as we get into the nighttime hours here. So a very intense upper level low is going to bring cooling aloft, and that is going to work its way down and drop temperatures behind our front, increase the wind, and increase precipitation rates. And at that point, we're going to be dealing with snow, and the big question mark is how much of that sticks to the ground. Now, farther south, you can see we do have a couple of storm complexes moving over the eastern Gulf in here, and they do kind of die on the doorstep when they get into the Tampa Bay area. I know people want to see some rain in Tampa Bay. It's been a very dry spring. We could see some, but unfortunately, I think the areas of the eastern peninsula of Florida and South Florida have a better chance of pop-up storms as we see kind of a resurgence of moisture and some heating of the day. So we'll keep an eye on South Florida tomorrow. You can see as this front moves east, it's not going to be quite as intense as what we're dealing with here this evening. It kind of shears out a little bit, but we do have to watch out for heavy storms tomorrow over basically anywhere across the Northeast, especially west of the Appalachians, straight on down through the Carolinas and Georgia. But it's going to be moving through quickly and kind of falling apart. The West is going to be pretty quiet this weekend. It is going to be pretty warm. The Northwest, though, will see some rain and mountain snow. Actually some heavy mountain snow as we get to tomorrow evening over the Cascades and into the coastal range of British Columbia. As that storm moves inland, it's going to stay unsettled here early next week. And then we do get to warm up across the Eastern U.S. Towards the middle of next week. It'll be a chilly start in the Northeast. And then our next storm moves on to the plains here on Wednesday. And I do think we could have a little bit more severe weather. This does not look like a widespread tornado outbreak at this point, though. And you'll see there's some colder air coming down behind this storm. And so yet another whiplash cold low pressure system here over the Great Lakes region at the end of the week. So it's warm this weekend. It's colder Sunday into Monday. It warms right back up into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then colder again on Friday. We ride the roller coaster here, it looks like. So anyway, let's take a look here at the forecast composite. I did show you guys this. I don't know why it zoomed ahead on me. I did show you guys this a little bit earlier with that radar Omega, but I want to show you kind of a slower, more, I guess, county by county detailed basis of what's going to happen here. So this is 7 o'clock Central Time tonight. I'm on Eastern Time, so it shows 8 o'clock here. But you can see where we've got our area of storms, kind of three separate areas. One over the Gulf here and some pop-ups in Florida. Second area over Louisiana, Mississippi. Third area, a broken squall line south of Little Rock, organized squall line north of Little Rock, right on into western Illinois. And so this evening, we do see this storm system continuing to move eastward, and then it weakens mostly by the time it gets into Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana. So I don't think you have to be too concerned about severe weather overnight tonight across the Ohio Valley states, but there certainly could still be heavy rain and frequent lightning strikes and maybe an outside chance for some strong wind around midnight, 1, 2 in the morning. Farther south, maybe a better shot as we have more instability across Louisiana, Mississippi, and western Alabama overnight tonight. And then those storms head out over the Gulf of Mexico, and we'll keep an eye on them in Florida. Now, tomorrow, additional storms popping up over Ohio into West Virginia. It'll be right around 4 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Eastern. Those move into Pennsylvania around 6 or 7, and then things weaken, and we've just had some scattered showers and storms from about State College, PA, down through the Shenandoah Valley, and then sneaking down into Greensboro and eventually Raleigh late tomorrow evening around 10, 11 o'clock. And then things will move eastward, and it'll be wet, but we probably aren't going to be dealing with any severe weather. Yes, there's blue on the map. That is snow. I'm going to get to that in just a second here over parts of the Great Lakes region. Now, sorry, my time's moved forward here. The HRRR model, 4 times a day, that does go out to 48 hours. Otherwise, it's only 18. So I wanted to show you 48 hours. But here we go. You can see scattered rain and thunderstorms across Wisconsin, Iowa, and northeastern Missouri. Right around 4 o'clock Central Time, and then more organized storms moving in from the southwest across Illinois here this evening. And there could be some severe weather, especially west of 57. So keep an eye on that. But then by the time things move into Chicago right around midnight, 1 o'clock, they are weakening on the doorstep here. They hit Lake Michigan. We lose our daytime heating, and they're weakening. Notice there's 2 areas of snow that form, though. One over northwest Ontario, maybe all the way down to about International Falls towards about 4 o'clock here. Another area blossoming across Minnesota and then Iowa. And it's going to be kind of a sloppy mess here by tomorrow morning. But we could see a little bit of accumulation over the Des Moines area and then spreading eastward into the Twin Cities, western Wisconsin, and then eventually the UP of Michigan and the Arrowhead tomorrow evening. And Chicagoland could see some flakes mixing in here late tomorrow evening and especially overnight. But farther west of you is where the better chance for accumulation is going to be. And I'm going to talk about some totals here in just a second here. I kind of showed you guys the HRRR already, but we'll zoom back in here and show you kind of the areas to really watch. I'm going to pull up a sounding here from the Ozarks region. And there is a risk for a few tornadoes here. There is some veering with wind as we have a southeasterly wind flow near the ground going over to a fast flow aloft here this evening. This is around 7 o'clock Central, but it's not super saturated at this point. So there's not a ton of moisture. In fact, this is kind of more of a hail structure that we have to keep an eye on, just due to the fact that temperatures well above the ground are dropping quickly. So when you have that temperature profile where things drop off quickly and a fast enough flow of wind aloft, and you've got enough saturation here, then those higher cloud tops do have that potential to produce some large hailstones. So that's what I'm going to be more concerned with out of this line of storms as it moves eastward here tonight. Obviously, if you've got a car that's parked out here, you may want to consider moving it into a garage if you could, because we could see some pretty big hail, 1, 2, 3 inch hail in this region here this evening. And then as things move east, that threat does weaken, and then things will kind of fall apart tomorrow morning. And then kind of our squall line, it's kind of skinny at this point. That moves through around Cincinnati and just east of Louisville here around lunchtime tomorrow. And then we have to watch out for storms firing up and becoming more intense here in the afternoon. And this will be around 3, 4 o'clock. And then moving into western PA and weakening as we get to the dusk time frame here. All right, I'm going to zoom in on Missouri, show you guys here some local times. And sorry, I'm trying to do some shortcuts for you. Obviously, we've got some rain showers moving through this morning. Not a big deal at this point, but then additional storms firing up kind of in 2 waves. The first one moves northeast into southeastern Iowa. Could have a little bit of severe weather with it, but the second wave we're watching more intensely here over the Ozarks, and this is where the hail threat does increase. Some severe wind hail as well, and an isolated tornado is possible here near Rolla and Branson, and then those spread eastward into southeastern Missouri around 8 and 9 o'clock. So definitely a severe weather threat we have to watch. Bigger hail probably in the afternoon hours than what we see in the evening, but more widespread wind damage in the 8, 9, 10 o'clock hours across Missouri. Farther south in Arkansas, let me zip that forward for you guys here. This is lunchtime. And as we get into the afternoon, we have to watch for storms firing up near and north of Mena and to the west of Russellville around mid-afternoon, 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Very large hail possible with these storms. I do think we could see a couple tornadoes as well. And then the Little Rock area should be under the gun around 7 and 8 o'clock tonight. Jonesboro, 8 and 9 o'clock, and especially south and east of Jonesboro as we get closer to about 9, 10 o'clock here around West Memphis and near Greenville, Mississippi. I think this is when we could really see some intense storms, and we'll have to watch out for a few embedded tornadoes in this region as well, in the Delta region. And then those will move eastward across the river by 11 tonight, and then we should have the all clear around midnight or so. I do expect this area will be under a tornado watch. It could just be a severe thunderstorm watch, though, so that's what I'll be watching for you guys here. And in Mississippi, we have to watch this area that pops up ahead of our line of storms later this afternoon near Jackson, down to about Macomb, Mississippi, and then eastward towards Hattiesburg in the 4 or 5 o'clock hours. The HRRR has a couple of intense storms in here with the threat for some large hail as well. And then the main event moves through here tonight around 11, 12 o'clock, and then moves east of Natchez and Macomb here around 1 a.m. And then still some overnight weather across southeastern Mississippi, and then things should move out and clear out around daybreak. I don't think we're going to see a lot of severe weather in Alabama, but keep an eye in southwest Alabama in the overnight hours for some isolated severe weather. Mainly heavy rain and a lot of lightning, though. And by tomorrow, as we see any resurgence, it's already going to be out of the area. So mainly overnight in Alabama tonight. I did talk a lot about Louisiana, kind of with that storm complex that's going to be developing and moving through here. You can see there could be a few locally severe storms between Alexandria and Lafayette around 3 o'clock down 49 here. And then I-10 and I-12 will be under the gun this afternoon as well. Very heavy rain possible and maybe some large hail as well. Even in Baton Rouge, Hammond, Covington, Louisiana, just north of Lake Pontchartrain. Those move out, and then the next line moves through northern Louisiana in the evening. Monroe will be under the gun, Alexandria under the gun, Marksville, areas east towards Tallulah will be under the gun late this evening, and then overnight across central and then southwest Louisiana, and that will spread eastward through the Baton Rouge area overnight, right across the Atchafalaya around 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and then New Orleans over to Gulfport here overnight. Those storms should weaken, but they could produce some localized flash flooding with them as we get a lot of rain in a short amount of time. All right, let's move eastward here into the southeast. It was a busy day yesterday. Today is going to be a great day to be outdoors in the southeast. Overnight, a few showers track into the Atlanta area, but the threat for severe weather tomorrow is not looking as high as it did yesterday. We kind of see where the timing is off, where a few morning showers move through, and then in the afternoon, kind of everything's popped up east of you. Keep an eye, though, on the low country here of Georgia here in the evening, and then into South Carolina around 7, 8 o'clock. My buddy Mitch West might be looking at some storms in his Columbia, Lexington area around 8, 9 o'clock. Those move east, and they should be out as the front clears the state here overnight around 2 in the morning. Farther south across Florida, we have had a lot of heavy rain in some areas, but a lot of folks have missed out as well. We do have this one complex of storms that'll clip the panhandle here this evening, and then storms firing up over the middle of the peninsula through this afternoon and early evening. I think they'll stay mainly north of Fort Lauderdale. Next wave comes through here tonight around 6, 7 in the morning, and that could produce a very nasty morning for you in the panhandle. I don't think the severe weather threat's looking as good as it did yesterday, but there'll definitely be some heavy rain. And this feature, as it moves into the peninsula, we've got the sea breeze collision and the daytime heating could fire a few heavier storms on the east coast of Florida in the afternoon, and then across central Florida, the Treasure Coast here, all the way down to Palm Beach here late tomorrow afternoon. So vacationers, be prepared for heavy amounts of rain and certainly a lot of lightning here before things quiet down tomorrow evening. All right, so let's talk about the Northeast. It's been very warm, but we are going to see an increase in humidity and more unsettled weather as our upper lows spreads some showers and storms across central and eastern PA and central Maryland and northern parts of Virginia this afternoon. The best chance for severe weather, believe it or not, is actually going to be across South Jersey. We'll have to keep an eye on things here just west of the Hudson River as well in the afternoon. This is 6 o'clock tonight. And maybe some isolated hail, but I think South Jersey has a little bit better chance. We're kind of in that better zone where storms could grow and become a little bit more intense here. And we could have some heavy rain as well right on through the evening around New York City and into western Long Island. Now, New England's not going to see much until the overnight hours. We could see some rain over eastern parts of Massachusetts, but you've got a sea breeze that's cooled things off significantly. So the threat for some larger storms is not going to be great as those temperatures are a lot cooler. Now, as we get into tomorrow, though, we are going to watch the storms in Ohio as they move into western PA, into western Maryland around 5, 6, 7 o'clock. We could see a couple of isolated severe storms popping up across New York State and over southwestern Ontario through the late afternoon and early evening hours. We kind of lose a lot of our punch by the time this front moves through in the evening. If it had been faster and gotten in the afternoon, I'd be more concerned about severe weather, but it's coming at night and the air will cool off. So that's going to primarily mean we just have some scattered showers and maybe briefly heavy rain. As these storms move through central and eastern PA, we'll have some briefly heavy rain in the Philly area across Delaware and South Jersey as well late tomorrow night. But the bigger story is going to be that it's going to be turning colder here. And watching Ohio tomorrow afternoon, I think we could see an upgrade to a slight risk for severe weather based on what I'm seeing here on this model. It could still change, but just be prepared if you're in central and eastern Ohio, as well as northern and western West Virginia and southwestern PA late in the afternoon tomorrow. And then finally, across Virginia tomorrow, well, even a few scattered showers this afternoon over northern Virginia. Probably not a big deal, though. But as we get to tomorrow evening, we do have to keep an eye on showers moving into the I-81 corridor. Some of these could produce briefly strong storms. There could be like a marginal risk of severe weather around the Roanoke Valley and as well as Lynchburg, maybe even over to Wytheville here early in the evening around 6 o'clock. Keep an eye on these storms up the 81 corridor towards Harrisonville and Stanton. They should weaken when they get to Charlottesville later in the evening, and just scattered rain showers moving through the Raleigh area and the Richmond area towards midnight tomorrow night. All right, temperatures are going to drop quickly. I'm going to try to speed this video up. But tomorrow night, we're going to see a 40-degree 24-hour drop. So we go from the 70s into the 30s in northern Illinois, and that's going to slap you across the face with the wind. Just a huge drop coming, and that drop in temperature spreads east into the Ohio Valley and the eastern Great Lakes, where Monday's temperatures are going to be 30 degrees or more colder than Sunday's temperatures. And that will continue eastward. We will have warmer temperatures returning, though, to the plains in the Ohio Valley by the middle of the week. But you can see where temperatures are forecast to go. Nothing but downhill. We'll be closing in close to 80 here west of Chicago this afternoon. We'll be back in the 80s across Michigan. So enjoy it for one more day. But look at Minnesota and North Dakota, 30s expected here. And here comes the front, and big drop in temperatures tomorrow morning. We'll be in the 40s in Chicago, dropping into the 30s in the evening. It'll still be in the 60s and low 70s over the eastern parts of Michigan, and maybe some record warmth for one more day over southwest Ontario. Certainly western PA and West Virginia could have some record highs tomorrow. It'll get close, but then tomorrow night, temperatures drop like a rock, And Monday, we will not get out of the 30s in the afternoon over a large area of the Great Lakes, 40s and low 50s here over the Ohio Valley as well. In fact, here's where we were yesterday in New England, and just some impressive heat. Let me find that for you guys here. I put something in one of my thousands of tabs and then it changes for me, but go back one. But you can see we had widespread 90s, which is typical for July. The humidity wasn't too bad, fortunately, but we actually got up to 96 degrees at Windsor Locks and Hartford in Connecticut. That tied the all-time record high for April, and the Hartford record high broke its daily record by 14 degrees. And records are meant to be broken. Now, we're going to always see record temperatures at some point. The thing we have to be concerned with is if it's every day across an entire year. We're just seeing this for a couple of days, so no cause for big concern. But obviously, if you're in Connecticut, I think that was a little bit much, and I think you'll appreciate some cooler weather coming. And that is going to be the case here over the next couple of days. Man, pretty crazy. Yeah, here's a better view for you guys. We had records in Michigan, Indiana, Ohio. This entire region basically had record highs yesterday, and a lot of you had them on Thursday as well. We could still have some today, but we'll see that trend downward here over the next couple of days. Here's the Northeast, and a nice afternoon, still in the 70s and low 80s over parts of upstate New York. But here comes the cold in both directions. Cold coming down through New England and Eastern Canada. Cold coming in from the west here, so you can see the warmth gets pinched off tomorrow. And it's still pretty warm in the mid-Atlantic region, but closer to May-like levels. So still warm, but closer to May-like levels here in the Hudson Valley. But we could have record highs tomorrow all the way up into Quebec and into northern Vermont as we're in between the cold air to the east and the cold air to the west. We're holding on to some warmth just a little bit longer, and then we put that to bed here on Monday as temperatures drop closer to average across this region, and then well below average Monday night into Tuesday. All right, we do have a winter storm watch out for the upper Midwest, right on through about half of the state of Wisconsin into upper Michigan and eastern parts of Minnesota. This is from the National Weather Service in La Crosse. And you can see there is over a 70% chance for 4 inches or more of accumulating snow east of La Crosse up into central parts of Wisconsin, and an over 50% chance that we see 6 inches of accumulation. Here's what the model is showing here. The GFS shows accumulation could get up close to a foot of snow or even more over the far western UP of Michigan, and maybe even over a foot of snow with the GFS. This is accumulating snow, not what falls, but what actually sticks. So there could be a localized band of very heavy snow falling here Sunday night into Monday, and more snow in the forecast here as well by Wednesday night and Thursday. Some areas could see 2 more feet of snow. So we talked about extreme warmth, but now we send it right back into some wintry weather, and I know that's not what you folks want to see. Canada, we're going to see a lot of snow over central parts of Ontario, over 80 centimeters. We're not going to see much at all, though, across southeastern Canada over the next couple of days. But we will see some snow here off and on, both on Monday night and Tuesday, as well as Thursday into Friday, just not a lot of accumulation. Well, thank you all so much for your time today. A lot to cover. This is a very long video, and I apologize for that. Taking tomorrow off, but I will give you guys some updates as severe weather unfolds. And I want to give all the glory to God who allows me to do this. He is the reason I'm called to the safety of folks. And, I saw a post, so I'm rambling on, and I apologize for that. If you're still with me and you have any prayer requests, I would love to pray for you. I hope you all have a blessed weekend. Please be safe today and tonight in the Central U.S., and we'll talk again on Monday. God bless you.